Number 7. AMC Gremlin, 1970 to 1978. The Gremlin opens this list as the entry point for a kind of failure that becomes more common as you move up. A car developed too quickly, built too cheaply, and sent to compete against rivals that had been engineered with more time and more honesty about what buyers actually needed. American Motors developed the Gremlin by shortening an existing Hornet platform on a compressed timeline and constrained budget. Both conditions showed up in early ownership. Misaligned body panels, interior materials that wore prematurely, and rust along the lower body in northern states were consistent complaints across the production years. The base inline-six delivered adequate power to a solid rear axle that produced a rough ride on anything below smooth pavement. The Gremlin sold consistently, largely on price, but dependability was rarely the reason buyers chose one and rarely the memory they carried when they moved on. The Gremlin is here not because it was the worst car on this list, but because it showed how quickly American manufacturers were willing to trade engineering depth for speed to market, and buyers would keep paying for that mistake throughout the decade. Number 6. Cadillac Cimarron, 1982 to 1988. Some failures are about engineering. The Cadillac Cimarron's failure was about something more fundamental, a decision to treat buyer loyalty as something that could be exploited rather than honored. The Cimarron was built on the same J-body platform as the Chevrolet Cavalier, a mainstream economy car that retailed for substantially less. Cadillac added leather seating, a few cosmetic distinctions, and a meaningfully higher price, and presented it as a luxury vehicle. The 1.8-liter four-cylinder produced 88 horsepower at launch, a figure that was genuinely difficult to reconcile with the Cadillac crest. Ride quality, interior refinement, and perceived build quality all fell short of what buyers had every right to expect when they chose Cadillac over its competitors. Automotive journalists were direct in their criticism, and sales never approached GM's projections. To be fair, the Cimarron was not a terrible small car by the standards of its platform. What it was not was a Cadillac, and the buyers who paid a Cadillac price for a Cavalier in different clothing walked away with something worse than disappointment, the feeling that Cadillac had asked for loyalty it had not earned. Number 5. Chevrolet Vega, 1971 to 1977. Motor Trend named the Vega its Car of the Year in 1971. That distinction aged more poorly than almost any automotive award in American history. The Vega was GM's flagship answer to the Import Challenge, a small car developed on an accelerated timeline under direct competitive pressure. The 2.3-liter aluminum inline-four used an aluminum cylinder bore without conventional iron liners, a design that required precise thermal management to function reliably. Under real-world conditions, the block warped, oil consumption climbed, and engine wear accelerated well beyond what buyers had reason to expect. The recall record across the Vega's production years was extensive, covering axle, throttle, and engine-related issues across a high number of separate campaigns. Rust penetrated body panels and floor sections within 2 to 3 seasons in cold climates. The Vega remains one of the clearest American examples of what happens when competitive pressure outruns the engineering validation an ambitious new design actually requires. It was not just disappointing because it failed, it was disappointing because GM had the scale and resources to do better and launched it anyway. Number 4. Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare, 1976 to 1980. The Dodge Aspen and its Plymouth twin, the Volare, arrived for 1976 as Chrysler's answer to the compact segment. Within months, it became clear the cars had been rushed to market before they were ready. Chrysler issued recalls before the model year was even complete and then kept issuing them. Over the production run, the Aspen and Volare accumulated one of the most extensive recall records of any American cars from the decade, covering carburetor fires, brake failures, hood latch defects, and engine stalling. Premature rust consumed fender wells and floor sections within 2 or 3 winters in cold climates on cars that buyers had purchased new. Consumer Reports placed both models among the lowest-rated American compacts of the period. The twins were not failures in isolation, they were failures at scale, sold to mainstream buyers across the country who had chosen Chrysler based on an existing reputation the Aspen and Volare systematically undermined. The Aspen and Volare did more than disappoint buyers. They helped convince a generation of American drivers that Chrysler could no longer be trusted to get the basics right. Number 3. Chevrolet Citation, 1980 to 1985. The Citation was Motor Trend's Car of the Year for 1980, GM's most prominent entry into front-wheel drive mass-market motoring, and the car positioned to signal that the American industry had answered the import decade. It sold in very large numbers in its first year. The problems arrived almost immediately after. NHTSA received significant complaints about rear brake lockup under hard braking in the earliest production years, an issue serious enough to generate regulatory attention and recall activity. Beyond the brakes, the Citation carried carburetor hesitation and stalling complaints that dealers encountered consistently, and build quality fell short of what the launch had implied. The car's reputation deteriorated faster than almost any Car of the Year winner before or since. The Citation was not alone. It shared its X-body platform with the Pontiac Phoenix, Oldsmobile Omega, and Buick Skylark, meaning the same documented problems spread across 4 brands simultaneously. GM had asked the American public to trust a major technological transition. The Citation answered that trust with a launch record that made the future feel less like progress than warning. Number 2. Ford Explorer, 1991 to 2001. The Ford Explorer was the best-selling SUV in America for most of the 1990s, a vehicle that defined the category, helped define the mainstream SUV market as it emerged in the 1990s, and became the centerpiece of one of the most serious automotive safety stories the country had ever seen. The safety issue that emerged publicly around 2000 and 2001 centered on Firestone tires fitted to the Explorer experiencing tread separation, which in combination with the Explorer's handling characteristics contributed to rollover accidents resulting in deaths and serious injuries. NHTSA investigations documented hundreds of fatalities linked to the issue. Congressional hearings followed. Ford and Firestone each attributed primary responsibility to the other's product, a dispute that produced extensive documentation of what each company knew and when. The Explorer's commercial dominance made the scale of the problem proportionately larger. Few American vehicles had ever been trusted by more people. That is exactly what made the scandal so serious. The scale of trust was matched only by the scale of the consequences. Number 1. Ford Pinto, 1971 through 1980. Every car on this list failed its buyers. The Ford Pinto belongs at number 1 because its failure produced a documented record unlike any other. Not for the engineering failure alone, but for what the internal documents revealed about how it was evaluated. The Pinto was developed in under 25 months. The fuel tank was placed between the rear bumper and the rear axle with limited structural protection. Testing confirmed that in certain rear-end scenarios, the tank could be punctured and fuel could ignite. An internal cost-benefit analysis made public through litigation and known as the Grimshaw Memo compared the cost of a design fix against projected legal settlement costs. The fix was not made. Ford recalled approximately 1.5 million Pintos in 1978. The company was charged with reckless homicide in Indiana, one of the first criminal prosecutions of a major American corporation over a product design decision. The case was acquitted. The civil litigation was not. The memo remained public. The Pinto is number 1 because no other American car left a more damaging record of the distance between what engineers knew, what executives calculated, and what buyers were asked to risk.